The boy lost. Wants his mum. Everyone pulls together in this sort of country. You just drop what you're doing and go. You don't question it.
Our hearts are aching and we are holding on to hope that he will be found.
Being optimistic, but being realistic, given the effluxion of time, if he's wandered off somewhere on the property, it's hard to see how a 4-year-old could survive on their own resources for this period of time.
The investigation is now being managed by Missing Persons Section, which is part of Major Crime Investigation Branch, and that's where all long-term cases such as this are managed and investigated, which is standard practice.
You would think it'd be quite easy to find a toddler that's just walked away from the sandpit.
Former homicide detective Charlie Bazina says police would be looking at all avenues.
When you're looking at the location of the property, we know we've got dingoes out there, foxes, feral cats, wedge-tailed eagles and the likes. To me, it's starting to look like every indication of, as long as the police are happy with the family and their bona fides, that it may well be a situation where he may have been taken by an animal.
On the late afternoon of September 27, 2025, 4-year-old Augustus Gus Lamont was playing near his family's homestead at Oak Park Station, a remote sheep property in South Australia. By the time anyone realized he was missing, minutes had stretched into hours, and the flat red country that had felt ordinary that day began to keep its silence. The search that followed became vast and methodical. Defense personnel, police, trackers, pilots, and volunteers combed bush and sand, trying to find the smallest sign that could explain how a little boy vanished from a place he should have known like the back of his hand. Over the last weeks, investigators have reviewed footprints, re-walked tracks, expanded search zones, and launched a formal task force. Yet the land has returned only questions. This is what we know, what remains uncertain, and why this case has gripped a nation. Gus was last seen around 5 p.m. on September 27th, playing in a sandpit near the homestead. Family members described it as a normal afternoon, the adults tending to sheep, a grandmother inside with another child, and Gus nearby. Around 5:30 p.m., when he didn't answer a call to come inside, the family began searching. They scoured the area for hours before calling police, and that gap, more than 3 hours, has become a defining detail of the case. In remote terrain, minutes matter. Investigators have acknowledged the family's cooperation but have also emphasized that the delay complicates the timeline reconstruction. Every minute between a disappearance and the first police response can shape what evidence is recoverable, where tracks lead, and what natural forces erase. The search that followed was massive, covering roughly 470 square kilometers, one of the largest in South Australian history. Military personnel joined state police, SES volunteers, and trackers, using helicopters, drones, and thermal imaging to comb the open country. Hundreds of locals turned out to help, walking line after line under a fierce sun. Aboriginal trackers lent their expertise in reading the land. Faint scuffs, broken twigs, disturbed sand, details invisible to the untrained eye. Despite these efforts, not one verified item of Gus's clothing was found, and no confirmed footprints could be tied to him. The land had absorbed all traces. The environment itself fought against the searchers. Temperatures soared above 36 degrees Celsius. Dust storms rolled across the plains, clouding vision and wiping away tracks within hours. Soft sand shifted with every gust of wind, and even cautious vehicle movements risked destroying delicate impressions. Search teams often walked up to 25 kilometers a day, sweeping areas multiple times to account for missed evidence. But in a landscape that vast and uniform, even a meter can make the difference between discovery and nothing at all. Drones overheated, batteries failed quickly, and heat haze made aerial imagery unreliable. What looked like a clear trail one moment vanished into rippling waves of light the next. After the initial days brought no breakthrough, authorities launched a renewed search, a 5.5-kilometer radius around the homestead, roughly 95 square kilometers covered on foot. Every step, every path, every dry creek bed was logged and photographed. A small footprint was found early in the operation, but forensic testing could not confirm it belonged to Gus. Later, the print was considered inconclusive. That small detail, one ambiguous mark in the dust, became the symbol of the investigation, a clue without an answer. As time passed, the focus began to shift. What started as a rescue operation slowly turned into a recovery mission. Police established Task Force Horizon to re-examine every piece of evidence, every statement, every image. The task force was tasked with connecting dots. Who was where, at what time, what was said, what wasn't, and how those gaps align. Investigators went back to the very beginning, rebuilding the family's movements minute by minute. That shift doesn't mean hope is gone, but it does mark the moment when urgency gives way to method, when rescuers become detectives and the work turns quiet, steady, and analytical. One of the biggest questions remains that 3-hour delay. The family searched alone for hours before calling for help, an action that police have to account for in any serious investigation. It's not about blame, it's about reconstructing what happened and how those first critical hours were used. Every missing person case depends on precision. What was the child wearing? Which direction was he last seen heading? What vehicles were nearby? What noises or smells were noticed? The answers to those questions fade fast when the environment is harsh and the timeline uncertain. The grandmother's reaction has also drawn widespread discussion. Observers noted her calm demeanor in interviews and questioned how someone could remain composed during such a crisis. But trauma affects people differently. Some scream, others freeze, and some appear almost emotionless as a way to cope. Police have been clear that demeanor alone means nothing. It's not evidence, and it's not a measure of guilt or innocence. Investigators focus on facts, phone records, movements, witness statements, and physical evidence, not on how someone appears on camera. Adding to the confusion, the case has been clouded by online misinformation. AI-generated photos, false sightings, and fabricated messages began circulating within days, drawing attention away from genuine leads. Each fake report forced police to divert time and resources to verify what wasn't real. Authorities urged the public to rely only on official updates and to avoid spreading unconfirmed theories. False claims not only mislead investigators, they also inflict real pain on a family already under immense scrutiny. Beyond misinformation, there are coincidences that investigators cannot ignore but must handle cautiously. Reports emerged that a man named Benjamin had disappeared nearby just one day before Gus vanished. Coincidence in such cases is a double-edged sword. It can point to a shared pattern or be a random overlap that draws unwarranted connections. Investigators treat such coincidences as data to be checked, not as conclusions. They pursue vehicle movements, residency overlaps, and any shared contacts that might explain a proximity of incidents. At the same time, they maintain the discipline to avoid conflating unrelated events simply because the timing feels ominous. Good investigation tests coincidence against corroborating evidence. If links exist, they can be critical. If not, assuming a connection damages the integrity of both cases and consumes attention that might be better spent elsewhere. Experts called on in and around the search were clear about one thing. While the Outback contains real dangers, the kinds of animal attacks that populate public imagination are considered unlikely explanations here. Local trackers, volunteers, and professional search coordinators pointed out that wedge-tailed eagles, dingoes, or crocodiles, the classic wildlife suspects, would typically leave physical traces. Birds of prey large enough to carry a human child are extremely unlikely to operate unnoticed in this environment. Dingoes or feral dogs tend to leave blood, torn clothing, or drag material. Crocodiles are not native to the region around Oak Park Station, making that theory implausible. These biological and ecological realities narrow the field of probable causes and push investigators back to human timelines, movements, and interactions as the most productive lines of inquiry. What does all of this mean for those who follow the case and for the family waiting for answers? First, the searches restart and the mobilization of Task Force Horizon signal that authorities are not closing the file. They have shifted methods and personnel, trading the immediacy of rescue for the deliberate work of investigation. Second, the environment itself, scorching heat, dust storms, and featureless scrub, can erase or mask tiny clues almost instantly, which is why multiple, methodical sweeps and repeated re-examinations are necessary. Third, human cooperation remains essential. Family, neighbors, workers, and visitors all hold pieces of the timeline, and police need their testimonies. Fourth, public behavior matters. Responsible sharing, restraint from speculation, and sending verified tips directly to authorities are small acts that help rather than hinder. Another layer of speculation arose when reports surfaced of another disappearance in the same region, a man named Benjamin, who went missing just a day before Gus vanished. Investigators are aware of the coincidence but have not confirmed any link. Coincidences happen, but good police work requires evidence, not assumptions. Each case has to stand on its own until credible proof connects them. Through all of this, police maintain that foul play cannot yet be confirmed, but neither can it be ruled out. The complete absence of clear evidence, no confirmed footprints, no clothing, no personal items, leaves the case open to multiple possibilities, from abduction to accidental wandering to something no one has yet imagined. The Oak Park Station disappearance now stands as a test of patience and precision. It's about how investigators balance compassion for a family with the cold discipline of fact-finding. It's about how communities handle uncertainty and how quickly speculation can turn into distraction. The key takeaways remain clear. The 3-hour delay is a pivotal question. The family's silence and limited public statements leave room for misunderstanding. The harsh environment reduced chances of survival and erased evidence quickly, and the ambiguous physical clues have deepened public frustration. More broadly, the case exposes the fragile line between responsible curiosity and reckless speculation, and how quickly that line can be crossed online. For now, Task Force Horizon continues its work. Detectives are rechecking witness statements, reviewing drone footage, and reconstructing the timeline piece by piece. They say every search is built on hope, and every hope deserves truth. If you want to stay updated with verified developments on this story and others, subscribe and turn on your bell. Keep Gus's name alive, with facts, not rumors. Keep watching, keep asking, and above all, keep caring, because cases like this aren't solved by noise, but by truth.